Now, guys, I am delighted to say that we are joined by LPGA Tour player, Olympian Stephanie Meadow. Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Struggling on as everybody else is at this time, but doing okay.
That's yeah. I think everyone's kind of, but especially like here in Ireland, we're all pretty sick of this lockdown. What are you doing lockdown wise over? You're in Phoenix, isn't it?
Yeah, so Phoenix, so Arizona had like a stay at home order thing. It's done now, but the last, gosh, I don't know how many weeks, but luckily the golf courses still stayed open. Both of my golf courses stayed open. You were able to like ride in single carts or walk and that sort of thing. And but honestly, like just knowing how strict it was in Ireland there, and then in the north, talking to my family, I actually tried to stay home quite a bit just because, I'm not really sure if having the golf courses open was a great idea. It was good, nice, but
Yeah.
so I got in, I stayed sharp, was able to keep it ticking over, which was nice. But overall, just trying to, made sure that everybody in my family stayed healthy.
How does a stay at home order work if golf courses are also open? Is it more like a suggestion, or is it a
Um,
hard and fast rule?
yeah, it seemed like it was a little bit more. I guess I wouldn't say it's a suggestion, but I don't think people were enforcing it.
Sure.
Like everywhere else pretty much closed, but golf courses was one of the things that stayed open. And then, like, there's a lot of hiking here in Arizona, so they kept those trails open and that sort of thing. I don't know. There's a lot of people here that I don't think really stayed home as much as they could. Yeah.
Not in comparison to back here. It's just probably the Irish
Yeah.
in looking to stay indoors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the scary part for me. Like my cousin's husband's in the medical and in the NHS in the north, and like hearing the stories that he was saying, and just I don't know, it's scary a bit. So I think that kind of hit home with me. So I just decided to stay home.
How has lockdown been for you? Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, a little weird. Yeah, so we got engaged. Gosh, not sure how many weeks ago now, but we went up to Sedona to a hiking trail actually, and with the dog, and just yeah, and that was it. So it was a little weird, but he'd had the ring since I think January before I left for Australia. So yeah, so I think he thought this was gonna blow over, and then it was like this is not gonna blow over. So he did it anyway. Yeah.
Did you get to celebrate with family? Also, your mum's out there with you as well. You still got to kind of celebrate with everyone from
Yeah.
socially safe
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah, well, she came over to the driveway. She didn't come into the house. She actually just lives down the street, and so she was kind of standing at the front of the driveway, and I was standing at the other side, and air hug. Yeah, but yeah, no, it was fun. It was a little weird because you want to have a party or see everybody, and you can't really do that. So once everything's back to normal, we'll get to do that.
That's great. I suppose for anyone that may not know, they absolutely should know because you've had a stellar career to date already, and it already looks brighter. Would you like to give a bit of background on yourself and how you got to the LPGA?
Yeah, so grew up in, just outside Belfast in Jordanstown, and I was there for 14 years. And then my parents and I made the move over to South Carolina in the States when I was 14 in 2006, I think. So when I was there, I went to an International Junior Golf Academy, which basically, a lot of people might have heard of like the Ledbetter schools. It's very similar to that. Just at that time, it was Gary Gilchrist as opposed to Ledbetter. So I stayed there, basically did, morning school till maybe, I don't know, 12-ish. And then you got to play golf the rest of the day. So that was pretty nice coming from home, where at points at home, I would go into school in the dark and come out in the dark. So it was a big change, but I really enjoyed it. And then after that, so I did my 4 years there, and then I went to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa and did 4 more years there, got an accounting degree, and then turned pro in 2014.
The IJGA school you went to, that Hank Haney took over that as well at some point as well,
Yeah.
didn't he? Was that during
Yeah,
your time?
it started off as Gary, and then Gary left to do his own thing, and then Hank came in right around the time that he was working with Tiger. So that was interesting.
You'd say
um,
so.
yeah. And it was nice. I have to say, like, a lot of them, it's just like the Ledbetter School. They use the name, right? Like they're not
Sure.
there. They may be there, 2 or 3 times a semester or whatever, and you get to see them for 10, 15 minutes. So, um, it was nice though. I learned, he definitely shared some stories that was very interesting at that time.
Stephanie, how does that conversation come about at 13, 14 that you're going to up sticks and move? Like you might hear about it for people going to college, but certainly from high school it'd be fairly select. So was that something that you were really determined and really focused on at a very young age, or did your parents see an opportunity, or did they almost recruit you as well from the US side?
So basically what happened was my parents and I used to go on holiday every Christmas to Disney World, like the Florida area. And as I got older, I started playing in this, I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's a junior event and it's like done in age groups at derailed. And we didn't play the blue course, we just played like the red or white course or something. And one of the girls that I was playing with there had IJGA on her bag. And of course, like, just wondering what it was. And I kind of thought, oh, well, that's cool. So, I was pretty determined, I think already, by like age 11, I was already playing for, home enters for Ireland and things like that. So I was pretty in it. And I always loved the States, and my parents had always loved the States as well. So, yeah, I think we kind of jumped on the opportunity. Next time we were over there, we went and visited both campuses. Actually, we went to Ledbetter and then IJGA as well. And yeah, just kind of, I think it worked out for parents and it worked out for me too. They enjoyed it over here as well, and saw a big opportunity for me, but also very lucky that they were able to retire at that point, and kind of leave everything. Yeah.
You do hear a lot about the intensity of those places for kids and
Hmm.
how tough they are, because academically they're very tough, and you have like a 4-point GPA from your accounting degree, so
Hmm.
obviously you're that way inclined anyway. But was it tough going from, say, junior golf in Royal Court Russian, where you're playing on Irish teams, to
Hmm.
making your mark there? Did you feel you had something to prove because you're an outsider coming in, or was it a case of, no, I'll just let my golf do the talking and then take school life as it would be, as normal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a bit of a shock golf wise, because you come from being one of the top girls in Ireland, and then I was just like one of thousands here. Like there was, I went to AJGA event, and I seen all these girls that hit further than me, that were maybe bigger than me, and scored a lot lower than I did. So at the beginning, it kind of takes a little bit of adjustment, but I think that was part of the reason why I became so successful, because I realized that, okay, I need to up my game here. Like this isn't good enough, and I knew that at that age. And school wise, I have to say, like, I think home is a bit more ahead of American school, like age wise. So when I was 14 coming over here, a lot of the things I already knew, so school wasn't like too stressful. It wasn't until maybe 16 or 17 that like started to get a little more intense. Yeah.
And do you enjoy the school, or is it something that you did very, very well in, or
Hmm.
was it just you saw that as a backup just in case?
Yeah, backup really. My dad was an accountant, so that's where I kind of got it from, and I was a numbers person. And I think my parents drilled in me that you know the 1% or the even less than 1% make it in my world, and make it well. So, and even if you don't make, or you do make it, and then you turn 40 and you don't want to play anymore, but you need to make a career. So yeah, like you got to have something. So that was drilled pretty hard into me. But definitely a bit of a nerd in that sort of area.
That's great though. So then you went on to University of Alabama. What was the
Hmm.
process like? Because we spoke to Gavin Moynihan about a week or so ago,
Yeah.
and he said they had a quick chat with you, like a meal with you, and he loved it, and he said he recommended it to everyone. So what is it about Alabama that
Yeah.
is so attractive?
Yeah. Oh, it's unreal. Like I tell you, when I was being recruited, I didn't even want to go visit there because it just has this like stigma of it's like it's Alabama, and I thought it was like all country and like hicks and like I didn't know what to think. And the coach literally begged me. He was like, "Please." I was like, "Okay." So I came, and as soon as I set foot on campus, like everything is very, I guess, like red brick and white roof and like and everything's based around the quad, like in the campus is beautiful. um and then at the time I had absolutely no idea about football, American football, and like what that meant for colleges. And they have one of the biggest program, and that is just dollar signs for every other team. That's what brings in all our funding. So,
Sure.
we had our own golf facility. I don't know if Gavin talked about it, but like our own kind of like iron area where you could probably hit up to almost 190 yards, like chipping green, two putting greens. And these are just, nobody is allowed there apart from the two teams, the boys and the girls. And video room, locker room. They even have a kitchen now, but I didn't have a kitchen when I was there, where they can like make smoothies and stuff for once they're heading out from class to there. So it really is anything you could imagine that you'd need to get better, they had it. And the coach was fantastic. Like he actually coached me for a while technically as well until I turned pro, and then it becomes a bit difficult traveling wise because he's so busy. But I still keep in touch with him, and I had an amazing time, to be honest. Like I loved every minute.
Sounds like you got the most out of it, because in recent times there's been Gavin Moynihan would be one directly related to the University of Alabama, but most recently probably Connor Purcell as well, who went over for much shorter periods of time. Now there's obviously the issue there that guys are moving a long, long way, whereas you were, I suppose, in the system, if you like, and probably the US was the only place you were ever going to go to university. It wasn't like you were going to come back and go to UCD or Maynooth and join that program. So it was probably a lot easier for you to run the 4-year run for 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think in Gavin's case, I remember I could be totally wrong. So sorry, Gavin, if you're watching, but I don't think he had a car or anything, like, and that just makes it so hard to, like, you're so far away from home. Like I already had a car from high school. Like it's just very, very different. And, in his case, like the boys team at that time were unbelievable. Like you had Justin Thomas, Corey Whitsitt, who's, these guys they all won college events, and qualifying was very brutal. So it is very competitive. And if you're kind of out of your element and you're kind of in that, and you're trying to fight for things, I mean, it can be really, really tough. But I think there are, like, Olivia Mahaffey went over, she went to ASU, and as far as I know, she absolutely loved it. So I think it just depends on the personality of the individual. Are you a homebody and you really miss your family and home, or more like on the Olivia side where she absolutely adores it and never wants to leave. So
did you break into the college team straight away, or what was that process like for you in terms of getting into Alabama and then getting straight onto the team? You walk
yeah, so they recruited me, I think, I can't remember, maybe even 15 or 16, and then I gave my like letter of intent or whatever. But yeah, like just because I was over here and I was playing the IJGA events, and the college coaches are very clued in those events and seeing people. I will say that a lot of coaches are now looking at like British amateur, European teams, those sorts of things, because they are starting to understand, how to recruit over there as well. But you'll see it all the time. Like we had a ton of Swedish players because, you get one Swede and then they all tell the rest of the Swedes that they're great. So the kind of feeds like that. So yeah, I kind of jumped in straight away. It's a big transition. It's a big transition. Team golf, I have to say, like, it's individual, but it's team, but it's different, and it is a lot of fun. But it's, 7, 8 girls on a team, and that always doesn't necessarily work out very well, but I was lucky and I had a really good team.
You seem to have had a great time because you won more or less everything that there is.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a pretty stellar career. I was very fortunate, but yeah, I just had a great time, to be honest. Like, I loved every aspect of it. I loved going to the football games. I loved like just being a part of the athletic community and getting to know everybody. And it was really very special. I miss it. Now I'm too old. Yeah.
And going in then, I suppose the transition was so quick. You were all American, and then an academic All American as well with the 4-point GPA. And then you turn pro, and your first pro event is a major,
Yeah.
and your first pro event being in a major, and you finished third, which is relatively unheard of.
Yeah.
By any sport standards, in any sport, male, female, or any, it doesn't really matter. Like, to go into at that level, what had you so prepared to do that? Was it the success you had? Like, was it just a habit of winning that you felt that your
Yeah.
expectations were so high? Because it was Pinehurst
Yeah.
as well, which is, it was only a week after the men's US Open, I believe, as well. So it was set up
Yeah.
super hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I remember that week, like, you've been waiting to turn pro for a long time, you know, since I was like 12 or 13. I'd finally finished college, you know, as much as I loved it, I still was kind of ready to turn pro and get out there. And, you know, part of the advantages of the first week is you're a little bit naive. You know, like, you're just going to go out and play and think you can beat everybody. And that's something that we should probably all transfer through our whole careers. But yeah, I was just so happy to be out there and finally, you know, playing as a pro and competing and able to earn money. And it was just like a kind of a dream came true. And that week, you know, I played great tee to green. I putted out of my mind and yeah, finished third. And, you know, as much as, like, thankfully, you know, that set me up big time. That was a big check. First week, I really didn't have to worry about, you know, how am I going to fund it? And my parents going to fund my pro career, like all these different things. So that took a lot of pressure off, but it also put a lot of pressure on. And at that point, I'm not sure I was totally ready to handle that. You know, you go out and you come third, and then all of a sudden you think you're going to win LPGA events, and it's not as easy as that. I wish it was, but it's not. So yeah, there was definitely, I mean, it was fantastic. And but I learned a lot of things from it too, on the negative side of going after it.
That must give you a massive confidence boost, though, because you come out and you come third. You must, like, naturally, you must just say to yourself, okay, I know I belong here. How did the rest
Yeah.
of that season pan out for you then?
So I ended up playing on invites, maybe like 6 or 7 invites I think I got for the rest of the year. And then the way it worked out with the LPGA, if you're not a member of the tour, which I wasn't yet, you have to finish in the top 40 in the money list to retain your card. So I ended up not retaining my card, and that was kind of a big blow. You know, you finish third in the US Open, and then you got to go to Q School. And so I didn't play that great after. Like, I missed a lot of cuts in the sponsor invites that I had, and I really, like, spiraled a little bit. Like, it was not easy. But, you know, because I thought I was ready to go, and then all of a sudden I wasn't playing as good, and it's a big transition. You know, all of a sudden you're playing for money, you're making your own arrangements. You know, you're standing in the breakfast line with people that you've looked up to your entire career. And no, it's just a lot of things, and rookies go through that all the time. Like, it's a big change, and it takes a while to get used to. And you know, then I had to go back to Q School, and then I lost in a 10-hole playoff for the last card. And it was just yeah, it was a little bit annoying, and definitely motivated me to kind of get better again. And thankfully I had enough status off the conditional to kind of keep my card the following year, which was good. But it was a bit of a roller coaster year, you can say that for sure.
Sure. And then even on a personal level, on a family level, your father then passed away as well.
Yeah.
That must have been obviously devastating.
Yeah. So I was about to leave for my first event in 2015. So that was in Australia, I think. And the day before I left, he got diagnosed stage 4 pancreatic. And that's just like, it's not good. And I didn't know anything about pancreatic cancer before I had, you know, dealt with it with Dad. But it's basically a care program. There's no treatment. And yeah, so I just I stayed home. I decided to help mom take care of dad, and kind of realized the priorities. I played one event. I did play ANA while he was sick because he was like begging me to play. I was like, I just want to stay here. But yeah, it's really tough, and anybody that's gone through it knows how hard it is, and it takes a long time to not get over it, but ease the pain.
Because your dad also he got you into the game. You kind of went along with him to lessons of his own when you were younger. Then you kind of started taking over the lessons.
Yeah, he was, my mom's a horse rider. Like she still doesn't play golf. So yeah, I went with mom horse riding, and then dad golf, and ended up picking golf when I was like 10 because I fell off the horse. I didn't like that too much. So yeah, I mean, he was a big part of it, and he was always my biggest supporter, and everybody knew him, and it was just, yeah, it's really tough. The golf was more of a reminder of him as opposed to anything good at that point in my life, and that was really hard.
I was just about to say, Stephanie, I draw when I look at your career so thus far, and the early stages, obviously it's I suppose 6 years old, I suppose, your professional career. I always draw massive similarities to Justin Rose's career. A guy who came and went to a major and finished top 4, whose father was kind of a driving figure in his golf career, passed away early, and he says how much that inspired him post his passing. And I think that there's massive experiences for you guys probably to be drawn from that, and the fact that you're now in such a good position, and we'll probably go into the interim period, but now in such a good position with a bit of security around the tour card for the next 2 years effectively. It just puts it in such a promising and optimistic point for you. How, I suppose, from that period to now, how have things gone from being able to really get yourself up for golf with the view that, I suppose, perspective has given you over that time?
Yeah, I mean, during that time, like I said, golf was really hard, and I started to kind of like shy away from it. I didn't want to be reminded of it. It was almost too hard. And then you get to this point and you remember that it's not as hard anymore, and it becomes more of like, oh wait, my dad used to watch me and cheer me on, and how much he enjoyed it and how much he wanted me to succeed. And like, so your mindset kind of shifts, right, as you go through different stages. And definitely now at the point where I know that my dad, his whole dream for me was to be doing what I'm doing, and even better. And I just draw on that every day to motivate me, and I know how much he believed in me. So I always have that in the back of my mind too, if you're having a rough day or whatnot. But yeah, it's the next 2 years, I mean, I had an interesting season last year, a great finish, and then a great start to 2020, and then this blew up. So but things are definitely, I feel like, on the turnaround, and I've learned a lot of things golf wise, gone through different coaching changes, just lots of things have happened that necessarily maybe didn't need to have happened. But you live and learn. That's part of it.
You have Galgorm on your arm as a sponsor, and was probably a good place in terms of probably where you were to win there last year. That probably kickstart the back end of the season, having missed kind of 10 of 22 cuts in 10 of 22 events, and then you win there. And then run through that, because winning at home is special. Rory always said it, winning in the Cape Club was massive for him. He didn't realize how much playing in Portrush would have meant to him. He wished he did. That's unique, you coming back winning at what felt like home.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something special about having your whole family there, and then ladies from Portrush that I've known since I was like 10, people from Ballyclare that I've known since I was 6, and definitely, like, I remember Kyle, my fiance, caddy for me that week, which is not normal. And I remember like the day before, I was like, I'm really nervous. Like, why am I so nervous? Like, this is an LPGA event. Like, at that point in time, like, it didn't really mean a whole lot other than just like, money and play at home. And but I think, being able to win under that sort of pressure, the 18th hole, like, was probably the most pressure I felt in a little while, just because I more wanted to do it for everybody else and not myself. And that's, I did it. And that, I think, really boosted my confidence. And, you know, I saw that, okay, it might not have been the strongest field in the world, but Charlie Hull was there and I beat Charlie, and, you know, I play against her every week. And, you know, it was just a really good confidence booster. And from there, I'd been working on some new things, and I think they'd really kind of paid off, and I just ran with it. And I mean, I guess that last kind of quarter of my season was pretty darn good. I mean, I made probably 100,000 in like 7 or 8 events or something like that. So, you know, it was a good finish. And then I started good this year. So things were working really well.
Sorry.
What is it? You move on then, and I said the confidence. What is it about people from Royal Portrush holding 25-footers last minute to get into majors or retain their card? Graham McDowell does it in Canada, and then you go and like. Did you feel that pressure over that putt? Did you know what it was for primarily, first and foremost?
Yeah. Oh, I knew. Yeah. I I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I actually started working with a new sports psych. And she originally, I would never look at leaderboards and like try to just play my own game, blah blah blah. You know, the usual you hear. And she basically told me that, Debbie said, you know, what were you like when you were 10 years old and at Portrush, or, you know, at the Irish Girls Close or whatever. I just wanted to beat everybody. Like, you know, I was a 10-year-old. I didn't give two craps about anything, and I just was going to beat them. And so I kind of took that mentality and put it back into my golf game in the pro world, and just started trying to win again. And I remember I was playing with Georgia Hall, who's one of my best friends, and on the last day, so that helped too. That was nice to have, because she knew as well. And I missed a eagle putt on 17, and there was a leaderboard right behind 17, and I knew in my head that tied 8 was not going to be enough, and that's what I was at. So I left the eagle putt like an inch short down the hill. So that would have been a lot easier to make that one. That was only like 8 feet. Yeah. And yes, and then I knew, and I looked at Georgia on the 18th tee, and I said, I have to make birdie. And she looked at me and said, I know. And then we just kind of walked down the fairway. And so she ended up made par or whatever. So she was done. And the leaderboard, like, could not have been any more obvious to me. Like, my ball was here, hole was here, and the leaderboard was directly behind it. So it was like, okay. So so I just knew, I was like determined. I knew, like, I did not want to go back to Symetra anymore. Like, I've been there, done that, don't want to do it again. And yeah, and then I don't know, I went in the hole, and yeah, all I can remember is screaming, and the crowd, like, I heard Kyle going nuts in the stand, because obviously, like, I just made birdie, so it wasn't like a big deal to the crowd, because a lot of them didn't understand what it was worth. So, like, I could hear Kyle going nuts, George is about to cry, like, so it was just it was really cool, like, to be able to do that. And know, like, there's a difference between making a 25-foot putt to win a tournament, right? You finish second, no big deal. Like, you know,
Sure.
It might seem like a big deal at the time, but you still make money, you're all good. Like, making a putt to keep your job, that's a totally different pressure. Like, that's real pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the pressure thing, we spoke to Robin Dawson. Johnny and I spoke to Robin Dawson last week, and there's one phrase that kind of comes out to mind. We were talking about Matthew Wolf's swing, standing up under pressure, and he just said it's the person that stands up under pressure, not the swing. And I can't imagine, as you said, you're playing for next year's job there. So I remember seeing it just when this was the biggest thing in terms of clutch that you could possibly get, really. As you said, first place is one thing, but second place is, if you're going for tournament wins, is different. But staying on top is massive.
Yeah.
Because like, the make percentage on a 25-foot putt on the easiest of greens is low.
It was like this too. It was like left to right, or yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask, was how, like, did you see the line straight away, or was it like, did you bring your caddy in, get a second look at it? Like, what was the process for that kind of putt? Because you know what's on the line.
Yeah, I didn't ask my caddy to come in. Sometimes I do, but very rarely, maybe once a round or so, maybe even less than that. And I mean, the good thing was that I knew it was left to right. It was pretty obvious there. I wasn't guessing, you know, what is this putt going to do? And I don't know, I guess I just kind of saw it. I don't actually remember what my thoughts were over it. It's all kind of a blur. but yeah, I mean, originally when I hit it, I thought it wasn't going to get there. I was going to kick myself, but it was downhill and it just kept going and went right in the heart. And yeah, nuts.
Because that really then, like you were saying, that then kicked off what became a great season or started this season for you. It's that habit of, because that must have felt like a win. Of course it did.
Yeah,
that kicked off
definitely.
the habit of winning.
Yeah, it's really for me like hand in hand, right? You know, winning and then intensity too, and kind of building on that. And that's kind of been my main focus since pretty much Galborm. So I just went out. I mean, I played okay in Florida. Actually, honestly, I had played one round of 18 holes in Florida since before Florida, because the whole off season I was struggling with the shoulder injury and I just couldn't get it. I ended up getting cortisone shot like right before the end, which I was trying to avoid. And so I didn't really know what to think going into Florida. And I remember on the first day, like my caddy and I, obviously he's heavily involved in like kind of my mindset stuff. And I could feel myself already getting back to I'll just stick to the process. Like I'll just be this little small person that just plots around the fairway, you know, and because I had no confidence because I was like, I've only played one round, 18 holes. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. And then he caught me and we both looked and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not how I ended last year. And ever since that, like I just was like, you know what, doesn't matter if I haven't played, I still have it. And I kind of changed that mentality and, you know, finished like tied 30 something there, which I was really happy with. Didn't have a great last day and then went to Australia and played pretty good too. So it's a great start. And unfortunately, you know, unforeseen circumstances, we're sitting here today, but hopefully I can pick it back up.
But that's such a good good secret weapon to be able to have that awareness where you can catch yourself going back into that mentality and know that no, that's not where I want to go to. This is where I want to be and this is how I want to play. To be able to catch yourself is such a
definitely. I mean, I think the most important thing like is catching it and then being aware that it's okay to be higher intensity or, you know, because so many of us have been, and I'm not saying that this works for everybody because it won't, but you know, everybody thinks we should be flatline and just, you know, kind of level headed, and that just does not work for me. And so that intensity, so being aware that it's okay to like pump yourself up and motivate yourself and look at leaderboards and try to shoot certain scores. You know, I think one thing that really kind of reinforced it for me was I saw an article about Rory and his caddy talking about like making a number score or like a bet before the round, you know, okay, if you shoot 60, whatever, 66 today, then, you know, caddy buys dinner or whatever. And we had actually been doing that already. So it's just kind of cool to see somebody like Rory and know that, hey, wait a second, like he's setting a target, you know, and it's okay that I'm doing that and I'm doing it too.
So
sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
I was gonna say, how's the shoulder holding up then? And what was the injury exactly?
Yeah, so it was kind of going on since about July of last year. I was getting this weird popping in my backswing, and it was really loud. And a lot of players were like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, but it didn't hurt at the beginning. I was like, I don't know what it is. It just like pops, and then eventually, you know, inevitably it starts hurting, and I had to withdraw from Indy the week before Texas, and so I ended up just trying to play through. I was taking like Celebrex, the anti whatever, or arthritis medication, and just all this garbage, and which got me through. And then I came home and I had an MRI, and I have this weird like genetic thing in my shoulder where there's a hole missing in the bone. So there's like 2 to 3%, I think, of people have it, and most people never know. But overhead sports tend to like exaggerate the weakness. So I think just what had happened is that's always been there. I wasn't totally aware of it, and the shoulder strength kind of went down, and with all the repetitive playing, and so it was really a matter of first trying to get the inflammation out of it because everything else was trying to compensate. So like pec was sore, bicep was sore, so there's a bunch of inflammation in there. So originally the doctor said, like, you know, just take some time off and see if we can get rid of it before we start doing cortisone and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like January and I'm still hurting. And yeah, so I just went in there and had the shot, and that was great for, 4 to 5 weeks, and it allowed me to kind of build the strength while not having any pain, which really helped. So I think it's doing a lot better now. I'm still working on it. There's still definitely a big difference between my left shoulder and my right shoulder as far as stability goes. So yeah, ongoing process.
The reason for people who are listening will not see my face when you mentioned that, because the other 1% of the people in the world who have it, I'm actually one of the people who has the exact
Oh,
same,
really?
yeah, the exact same syndrome from playing rugby, and that's why I laugh, because I remember it's like, God, that sounds very
Yeah,
familiar to me, and
that's
anytime
so
my
funny.
shoulder went up to here, it just did this click. But it does go away. The cortisone does help. We've gone through the same
Yeah.
process, so hopefully you'll be on the outside of it, and at an opportune time as well, because as of the 15th of July, you guys are going to be playing for a lot of money,
Hmm.
and that's one of
Yeah.
the like massive benefits.
Yeah, definitely. Not that I would ever quote this as a blessing in disguise, but it has given me a chance to kind of make sure that this is better. And I'm ready to go when we start back up. And yeah, luckily our tournaments, some of our sponsors have donated funds to other events, that if they're not going to be held, those sponsors, to increase our purses, which is great. Our schedule is still, we had a Zoom meeting last week, and it's, we got some British events in there. We have the Scottish Evian, so there's still a few things that are up in the air. And then we have the Asian swing and how that's going to work. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But hopefully we can get back up. And the good thing is, and I think they did the right thing, that, now for those of you that don't know, that our status just remains the same through 2021. So there's no risk of losing card. Unfortunately, unless you win, there's no way to like increase or go up on the priority list, which I know a few of my friends are a little annoyed about, like if they had a great start to the year or whatnot. But essentially the LPGA has made it so that the player can make a decision if they're comfortable playing and they're comfortable traveling, or if, for some reason they're not able to get out of their country, it doesn't hurt their career, which I think is the right thing to do.
The increased average purse size is a great vote of confidence in the league as a whole. Mike Wan's only been with the LPGA a couple of years, but he seems to have really expanded the LPGA into a global tour, so that's not quite as reliant on like US funds or US sponsors, and that really comes across in the growth of the game, I find.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's a really great guy, and he really knows what he's doing. And, one of the points that he made last week on the Zoom call was that, 2020, it could be a wash. Like, like we, it's tough, right? I mean, we can't push sponsors. What we have to focus on is 2021. He's like, we have to make sure that this doesn't hurt us going forward. And he's totally right. If we can bounce back and have more events next year, more money next year, that's what we're all behind and kind of hoping for. So, it would suck to, lose all these events this year and then lose them all next year or in the future, or 2023 or whatever. So yeah, he's done a great year, or a great job so far. It's a very unknown environment, and I guess just week to week, just hope that things get better. And unfortunately, we're kind of bound a little bit by, government regulations in certain countries. And our tour is international. Like you said, we have 35% of us are outside of the US at the minute. So, that holds a big kind of issue in itself of getting everybody here to play. And it's only fair that we do try to get everybody here.
Yeah. And in prep for that, have you partaken? I know there's a lot of mini tour stuff going on in your area at the moment. We've been following it intently, actually, to be honest. I think everyone in the world has. Jim Furyk is playing this week.
I know, yeah.
in an event, for example. But have you gone to any of the events just to get the sharpness back?
No, I have not yet. I probably will in the coming weeks, maybe a month or so. But I actually normally play those. The one that I normally play is the Cactus Tour. And in years past, did not do it this year because of the injury, but in years past, I'd always play them in January before we get going, or in between like Florida before we go to Australia. So, and all of them are literally 30 minutes from my house, even less. So that's nice. So yeah, I mean, I will start doing that again. And I think, I think Carlotta Saganda's playing this week, and a few of the girls are starting to pick up again. So I would say probably a month or so I'll start playing.
Can you explain just to people who don't know as well, because we'll be talking to Ryan French, who's the guy who runs the Monday Q Twitter
Oh yeah.
Twitter handle soon. We're talking to him tomorrow, so that'll be out next week. But can you explain this, I suppose, small subculture of pro golf that exists, especially in and around the Phoenix area? Because you've just got so many professional golfers within the space. So who are these events for? What kind of standard is it? And what kind of, I suppose, financial benefit is it to the guys who or girls who rely on this for their I suppose, stepping stone to the next part of their career?
Yeah, it seems like, Phoenix area and then like Orlando, both of those have pretty high mini tour. And I think it's just because, golfers flock here because it's kind of golf paradise, great weather, lots of golf courses and opportunity. But, Cactus, I don't know a whole lot about the men's side. I guess I know a little bit actually. So Kyle, my fiance, used to play professionally. He was on the Canadian PGA Tour for a couple of years, and then before he started caddying. But last year he thought it would be fun to go out and play again, so I caddied for him in one of the mini tour events in the guys, which was interesting. And so they have, I mean, from what I could tell, like the scores were really low in that guys mini tour event. They played from pretty far, I mean, as far back as you can go, and there was a lot of guys there. I mean, I'm not super up on, all the web.com guys and all that sort of thing, but if they're here and they want to play, and the guys, I think it's even more expensive. Like I think the girls, I think Cactus Tour is like 500 and something to enter. The guys are paying like 1,200-1,300 to enter. So it is pretty big money. And it's basically gambling, right? It's our version of guys coming together and putting the money in and trying to get a decent purse. Like I think on the girls' side, if you win, it's maybe like like $3,000 or something, which is obviously with no expenses is great. Like I don't have to leave the house. I don't need a caddy. A lot of Symetra Tour girls will play those Cactus events. A few girls that missed Q school that were good college players that just had a really bad Q school will be out there full time. And so it's not like you just have to walk out there and shoot one under. Like you got to play and play really well. Like I think gosh, I saw one like the Cactus Tour. I mean, Sophia Popoff shot the record not so long ago. It was way under par, 18 or something for 3 days. So yes, I mean, it's good. It's great practice. And you know what? Win's a win. Like when it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. If you're winning, your confidence is going to go up. And obviously it's a nice little injection of money as well.
So what's the coming back to the season then? What are LPGA courses playing like at the moment? Are they getting longer and longer like the men's are, or is there a bit more emphasis on accuracy and the short game?
This is always a battle that happens every player meeting of the people that want it to be longer, the people that want more par fives to be reachable. For the most part, they play anywhere from 6,500 to 67, which majors even maybe a little longer. But as it's all relative. Whether it's firm and fast or super soggy and that sort of thing. But I think relative to the guys tour, like the clubs that we have longer clubs generally. I think somebody tweeted about that last year, like what the men's yardage would have to be for them to hit the same clubs as us, and it was kind of obscene. So we still, we're not hitting wedge in every hole, that's for sure. But they're definitely, I think they're getting a little longer and longer every year, I would say. But they're trying to change it up. Do we make a reachable par 4? Do we make every par 5 reachable? Typically for the average player, you might only be able to get to one par 5 per round, where on the PGA Tour, it's probably majority of them. So it is a little bit different. And
so if your strength, correct me if I'm wrong, is your short game. So it's your putting and from about 30 yards in around that.
Yeah.
So what would you like as a preference if you could? Yeah. You could sway the field.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like more reachable par fives because I feel like that's more fun. But I also like the long and hard holes because I feel like it's a lot, you know, if I'm missing a green or I have hybrid in, and you know, I have a more chance of getting up and down than maybe if some other girls too. So I see both sides of it. But at the end of the day, they give us what they give us, and I just try to shoot my best.
So how many of the upcoming events that are as confirmed as they can be now so far are you committed to? Because obviously there's that Europe swinging around August, which has France, Scotland, and who knows where those countries are going to be. So I imagine all of the domestic events you'll probably try and get to.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it just depends. I have no idea. Like if British and Scottish and Evian go forward, like I can't see myself not going, but I would like to kind of see what's going on. Flying is a little bit scary at the moment for me. I don't know, it's just so unknown, and we'll just have to wait and see. You know, hopefully in the next few weeks we'll probably have a clearer picture of whether those are going to go on or not. But definitely domestic events. We have even talked about driving, you know, to try to avoid the kind of flying issue. But unfortunately, our schedule is kind of all over the place just because of everything that's happened. So that might not be the easiest thing. But one of the good things is that, you know, if I wasn't comfortable flying, you know, maybe I play two events that are right next to each other and then skip the one that's far away or whatever. I really don't know. There's so much, like, I just can't make a decision yet because it'll probably change in 2 weeks' time. So I'll just kind of wait and see.
Yeah, that's totally fair. What
Yeah.
I see there's you have your Callaway logo on your collar. Also, you've tried
Mhm.
from a partner's point of view. What's in the bag at the moment? What are you playing with?
Yeah, so pretty much all Callaway. I have Titleist wedges in the bag at the minute, which I just recently changed. For some reason, I find that the Callaway wedges, they're spinny, but they come out a little low on chipping. And I actually tried Christy Kerr's wedge, and I was like, oh gosh, this is so easy to hit it a little bit higher. So I kind of switched there. Everything else, I have a PXG hybrid in the bag, which I really like. I do have a Callaway hybrid too, but I haven't switched yet, or I don't know if I will. We'll see. But everything else is pretty much Callaway. Yeah. Trying to remember. It's been a while since. Yeah. Keep everything together. Yeah.
And then we're 1 week back now into club golf, and we'll probably finish on this. If I guess your average club player would their game would be more similar to an LPGA Tour players than we're not hitting 350 odd yard drives. If someone like me was going back now to play, is there any kind of advice that you give us to stick to?
Oh gosh. Well, if you're anything like me, give yourself a break because as soon as you go, I know what it's like. Like, yeah, like I remember, yeah, like I think I took off like 5 or 6 weeks, and then I went to the first tee and I hit it so far right that I just like started laughing, like, and everybody was watching. I was like, yep, that's good. Yeah, I think it's just give yourself some time. Like, it's going to be frustrating probably for a lot of you that are used to playing, you know, week to week or multiple times a week. So just try to get, you know, back into the swing of things. Maybe tempo and that sort of thing is really important at this stage because your timing's going to be off a little bit. So that, and then just see what you can do around the greens. I mean, take it as a challenge to see, even if you're hitting it that bad, how many times can you get up and down and kind of keep the score in your normal range, I think. And maybe that'll help you on the other side when your ball striking gets back to normal.
That's great.
Like that. Yeah. We'll give you one last shout as well. I love that you've got a top covered in sponsors as well. And they're all sponsors that are very noticeable because they're very similar to Shane's actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just like very quickly, do you want to give them a shout out because obviously they're key to being able to get through this time and obviously the next few years because they're long-term commitments that you both have made to each other.
Yeah, you know, first off, Investec here, I think this is our 5th year of sponsor now with them. They have been unreal. Like, they are the reason why I have this one and this one. So you know, huge shout out to them for sticking by me. And you know, Amidas just came on board. It was just announced like in the last 2 weeks, but we've been talking since like December, so it was just kind of a getting everything organized. So I know it's a weird timing, but it was supposed to be kind of January. But that, you know, it's fantastic to have them on board, and to be with the same company as somebody like Shane is really special. And I think we're going to be doing a lot of corporate days together, which I know I can learn a lot from him, and maybe I can give him a tip, you never know. And then I have ATA. They're a smaller company, but they've been on board now for 2 years, and yeah, they're fantastic as well. And then this one is coming in July, but now you all get a sneak peek. Yeah. So, but obviously, you know, beautiful resort, and I won there, and I can't wait to represent them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
kept
you.
you way longer than I said it would be.
Oh, no, you're fine. All good.
Thank you so
You're
much.
fine.
You're great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Cheers.